November 13 meeting of the council, Wesley Chapel.
I got that information.
Yeah, I definitely address, you know,
Meander through it.
I saw that email. Did you have to for the
I'm going to call to order the November 13th meeting of the Village of Wesley Chapel Council. If you will rise and join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing and pray with me, please. Lord God, we acknowledge you as the Creator, Lord, the ruler of all, the Redeemer of all. Lord, we thank you. After finishing up a Veterans Weekend, Lord, we thank you for the veterans that have served. We have a father that served in World War II and a brother that served in Vietnam, Lord. I know how important that is and how much of a strain it is on not only the veterans but also the families that are left here, Lord. And I just thank you for the ones that have served. During the season of Thanksgiving, Lord, I also thank you for all that you've done for us, for our village of Wesley Chapel, for the safety that we have here, and for the safety that we have throughout our country. Lord, I just pray that tonight, that all the discussions we have, the thoughts that we have, and the motions that we make, Lord, they're done in a way that honor you. We pray in your holy name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
That brings us to public comments.
We have one.
We have one. Or do we have two?
I forgot to sign.
Okay. All right, Mr. John Lepke.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate Laurie, David and Amanda on winning the confidence of our citizens for another term. I think it speaks loudly about a job well done in your past term. As they say in Washington, I rise today. I rise today to ask Council to consider approving an event at the park, a live nativity proposed by Southbrook Church. I want to offer three statements of fact in support of such an approval. In my opinion, it's an extremely well-planned event. They seem to have addressed all the concerns I could think of, and I'm not alone in that opinion. Parks and Recreation voted unanimously to recommend to Council that Council approve the event. Second fact is, in the past, before this Council was seated, we had several events at night, never had an issue crossing the road. Before we did that, I asked Union County Sheriff's Office if they had any concerns. They said no, they don't. They do many night crossings with flashing lights. People can see it from a long way away. I offered to provide them with lighting. They told me at the time, don't need to provide lights. If they feel lights are necessary, they have plenty of lights they can bring along. They can get people across the road safely. And then lastly, Southbrook has always been very supportive of events at the park, very cooperative about our own events at the park. And without their cooperation, events at the park just wouldn't be possible. So I'd like Council to think about approving that event, and if you can add it to the agenda, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
John, can you talk more about what that event's going to entail?
Not right now, though.
Okay.
Not during public comment. All right. Frank Capella. If you'll come to the podium and state your name and address.
Sure. It's Frank Capella, 3901 Voltaire Drive, Lummi Creek. As was just said, congratulations everybody in the re-election. It's great for our community that this council's doing a terrific job. And I would personally like to thank you guys for allowing my neighborhood access to LaBella Associates to engage with engineer regarding our flooding problems that we've been having the past couple of years. That is really appreciated, and I'd like to thank you guys for that. A couple of comments I want to make, and then I want to kind of read a statement that I sent out today. This is regarding critical intersections in our area. Earlier, about a couple hours ago, I emailed the mayor, the Board of Education chair, and the Union County commissioners an email. And I'll read this email aloud so everybody can hear it, what I wrote, and kind of give you the background of the method of the madness that I'm kind of going for here, and seeing if we could work together with these other entities to apply some pressure. So I sent an email out to the commissioners, the Board of Ed chair, and Mayor Fuller, and basically I said the subject was a joint statement, Wesley Chapel critical intersections. And I wrote, basically, I'm writing regarding the ongoing traffic and safety issues in and around Wesley Chapel Elementary School. I fully understand that Union County, Board of County Commissioners, the Board of Education, the Village Council are not charged with maintaining or updating our roadways. That aside, I'd like to share this information with you. 2 intersections, Weddington Road, 84, and Potter Road, and nearby Potter and Wesley Chapel Road, continue to be dangerous for UCPS, the schools, parents, bus drivers, car riders, and all county residents who traverse through this area. These intersections have been rated F by NCDOT for many years, at least as far back as I can remember. The community of Wesley Chapel has completely exhausted its patience when it comes to area road improvements around the school. Year after year, despite funding being met, Wesley Chapel residents continue to read about upgrades going on in surrounding areas, yet we continue to wait. Our community reads about many projects being built in the Marvin area and other areas, with a new one getting awarded every few months or so, yet we continue to wait. So with that, I'd like to propose the following. If possible, I would like to ask Union County, the Village of Wesley Chapel, and the Board of Education to sign a joint statement or proclamation, a statement that simply acknowledges that it's well past time for Wesley Chapel to get their intersection upgrades, and that each board and council is aware of the continuing traffic and safety issues in and around this area. I believe buy-in from each board would be easy to define. For the Board of Education, they have their bus drivers, parents, car riders who must use these dangerous intersections daily. For the county, an overwhelming majority of those who use these intersections are Union County residents. And then for the village, it would be really helpful if we could have some county-wide allies to bring awareness to the issue. So then from there, I ended with this. Most importantly, I plan on presenting this statement of concern to Senator Todd Johnson and Representative David Willis. I will ask them both to begin aggressively advocating for Wesley Chapel's needs directly to NCDOT. It can no longer be acceptable for one community to have their critical intersections languish for years on end, while another area continues to win project after project. I'm happy to speak with anyone regarding other ideas or plans. The idea here basically is to get these entities, yours included, the Board of Education and the Board of Commissioners, who I think everybody has skin in the game between those 3 entities. Get them on board, a simple statement, go to the senator, go to Representative Willis and say, listen, something's got to be done. We're watching projects being done left, right, and center, yet these projects have languished. I've been here 17 years. it's the same old song and dance. We need a cohesive effort and message to these state representatives to get on DOT and see if we can make it happen. And that's all I really have to say. If anybody has any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Yep.
So that moves to the additions, deletions, and adoption of the agenda. We did add, we added 6D, which is, we'll talk about it when we get there, but adding additional minutes to the website. So that was added from the last time that you saw it.
I have a few things to remove from the consent agenda. I think they're important we discuss in
Okay.
open forum. C, F, and G. I think C can be moved to 5A or 5B. F and G, I think, can be moved to Parks and Rec, or you can put them under 5 as well.
Yeah, we'll put the scout policy in there.
So C is going to 5A, okay.
And F and G, you can put them wherever you want.
We
Say
can
a
just
few
maybe,
words.
why don't we just follow 5B and C, A, B, and C, we'll just move them to 5A, B, and C. Discuss.
All right.
And then under item number 8, I'd like to add item E, a discussion of the event that John Lucky referenced, and item F, an update about crosswalks, which council asked for.
An update on what?
Crosswalks.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, can we add, let's see, we're to, on number 5, we're to what?
A, B, and C?
A, B, and C, I'd like to add D, town hall maintenance.
That's Village Hall.
Is it official?
It is
Yeah, it's official.
Okay.
So 5D is Village Hall maintenance?
Village hall.
Sorry, guys.
Did I say Town Hall?
Don't make it right. Okay, so anybody else?
Oh, yes. One other thing. Where are we at on 5? D?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, let's add E. Well, no, this is probably not it. I want to spend just a couple minutes talking about stormwater runoff and updates on that. Where's the best place to
Let's
put
put that
that?
under planning after Lauren talks, she can talk.
Okay.
AB, okay, so B is
Yeah.
stormwater, 7B.
Yep.
Got it, thank you.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
as Amended.
Yep, a second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
Motion to approve consent agenda. Sorry.
Yeah, there need to be some changes to the meeting minutes.
Oh.
They need to be corrected, and then I think the consent agenda can be approved.
So,
Were they
for A and B?
Yeah, in the regular council meetings, we need to refer to Labella's engineer Bonnie with her proper full name, not just Bonnie, and there's spelling errors in that. And then on the closed session minutes, it's Madeline, not Madison.
It's Madison?
Madeline.
Madeline.
Okay.
And I think if those are corrected, then
Oh, well, I've got a couple of things. This is just nitpicky, okay?
Well, that's okay.
But,
It's almost like you were a teacher or something.
almost. 8, under the planning board, if you go down to the third paragraph, the bottom paragraph, where it says Councilmember Bledsoe stated it is not a bribe. Could we just put a couple words after that, because that just sounds like I'm arguing with him, and I,
That's fine, it was just a summary.
yeah, and, yeah, but what, if you could add something, paraphrase it, like it's not a bribe, it's an incentive in light of DOT's financial issues, it's an incentive, rather than, it's not
It's
just
an
a bribe.
incentive what, as?
An incentive in light of DOT's financial problems. And there's one more thing. On page 9, council comments. Craig Horn was the one that asked if we could collaborate more and do, since we're such close neighbors.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the one that made that
I'll go back
comment.
and listen for that to make sure I heard it right. Horn was the collaborator.
Yeah, yeah.
Horn made the request.
Yeah, you could just say after speak, that he asked if we could or something. Whatever, however you want to word that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? All right, so that brings us to the general village business update. Questions or-
5A is the resolution.
Okay, so 5A, we approved at the last meeting the spending, the 300,000 or allocating it, but we did not actually approve the wording of a resolution. So that's what that is.
NCDOT needs the specific language regarding high impact, low cost funding to be able to use their funding to do the project. So without this resolution, there won't be a project.
Has that been done?
This is the resolution.
The resolution's in the packet, that's what we're approving.
And okay, that's,
That's what was on the consent agenda.
all right. That's all we need to say about that.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. And then for B was the amended scout policy.
Yeah, I don't think that's been reviewed by Parks and Rec, and I'd like it to be reviewed by Parks and Rec before we approve it.
And it's my understanding that the amendment was just to take off the list of projects and have them reach out to John.
No, I think the wording of the wording has changed.
There was some wordsmithing, but the change, the generalized change was,
I would just like Parks and Rec to look at it before we approve it.
Is there any time sensitivity to this?
No.
I'm okay with giving it another month then.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will put 4F back on the agenda in December.
And add it to the Parks and Rec agenda for next week, or later this week.
Okay, and then that brings us to the Village Hall interim land maintenance service.
Well, I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of what's happening, why it's happening, what the costs are involved, and what's included and not included specifically in the green space lawn care interim maintenance proposal. Did everybody read through that? Is everybody understanding what it basically means? John's going to have to do a lot of extra work for the next few months, and just want to make sure everybody's aware of that more than anything else.
John, do you have concerns?
With a greatly reduced specification for the next few months, we have an immediate need. The current contractor just said, I'm done. Now,
Very little notice.
we got nobody working on it. We found somebody who says they have the capacity, I believe they do, to take it on in an interim basis while we rebid it. We understand we need to rebid it, but as you know, that process, getting the spec out, finding bidders, getting the bids in, evaluating the bids, making a recommendation, getting council approved, that's at least 3 months, maybe 4 months. So we need something in the interim. So what I did, with it being winter, I greatly reduced the amount of work. So week 1 would be mowing, blowing, emptying the trash. And since we're at winter where the grass is growing slower, week 2 would be emptying the trash and blowing the leaves, the parking lot, the playground, and then we'd alternate week 1, week 2, week 1, week 2. So it's a greatly reduced level of service at a greatly reduced cost also. Then if that temporary contractor wishes to bid on the ongoing, then they're welcome to do that along with everybody else, and council can make a decision on who to go with for the longer term, but we needed to fill an immediate gap. The other thing I ask for is that ordinarily during this period we would have all the, like round the playground, outside the playground, the decorative landscaping mulched. If we take that out, I'd ask that the money we save from the greatly reduced service level we're allowed to spend on mulch, and I'll spread the mulch with the tractor. While I'm doing things like blowing the leaves off the trail and emptying the trash cans, there's other things I'm not doing. So, like, if there's an emergency, like a broken plank on the deck or the bridge, I'll do that. But there's some other things I'm just going to have to push off until we have a full-time contract.
But as our park maintenance technician, are you comfortable moving forward with this contract?
Absolutely.
And Kathy, let me put a burden on you. With the landscape contract, are we paying in advance for services, or are we paying after the services are completed?
We'll pay him after he completes the services, $675 for the mowing, the blowing, and the trash, and then the next week, as he said, it will be, they'll just blow the paths and mow on the edge. They won't do the leaves because the lawnmowers take care of the leaves on the grass. So basically, it's just the $375 and the $675.
Let me clarify my question. I'm not talking about the new contract for the new landscaper. I'm talking about the old contract for the old landscaper.
And what was the question then?
Did we pay in advance, or did we pay after the services were rendered?
We paid typically at the end of the month for the next month. So we got an invoice from the landscaper for, let's say, October. I paid it like September 26th for the next month. But this month I did not pay for November. He gave us notice on October 26th that he was no longer going to be doing any business, that he was liquidating his company on November 1st. So he did send us an $11,000 bill, but I responded to him that we wouldn't be paying it. He did some work in September, but when I looked at the contract, I just gauged it with, and I looked at all of the services are sort of spread out over the entire year. So what he had done for 4 months, he was paid for in the course of those 4 months. So basically, we don't owe him any money as of, to my knowledge. I sent it to George earlier today for review, and I sent it to Amanda as well.
John?
So what we've done historically, and that's still the case with the contractors that quit on us, they look at the total requirement for the year, and instead of them hitting us with $10,000 when they fertilize, we've asked them not to do that. We've asked for it to be spread evenly over the year. So things like mulch, which is a December expense, spread over 12 months. Things like fertilizing, overseeding that we got, and aeration that we got in September, that's a huge expense, but ordinarily that's spread over the 12 months. So the contractor under the new contract has had the opportunity to collect 4 months of the contribution towards the fertilization, overseeding, aeration and mulch. He's not going to have the additional 8 months to recover. He's not providing services, but he's also not getting money to pay for some of what he's already done. The seeding. So,
in addition to that, he's supposed to provide services January, February, and April. So there's other things he hasn't put down that he's been paid for the first 4 months that he hasn't done. So the way the contract is broken out, we asked him to kind of quantify what are we spending our money on? So he broke it down. He broke it down in aeration and seeding and, just 4 or 5 different categories that he broke down. And when I looked at the whole thing, the contract says that we'll pay him $5,040 a month for those services, but we didn't have a breakdown of a spreadsheet as to, how much this, so that I could do 4/12 of this one and 3/12 of that one. And given he just basically canceled on us the day he sent the email, he said he was done. And then the November 1st was the fact that he was liquidating his company, which was additional information. So we got no notice to sit down and try to evaluate and come to an understanding. So as I looked through the contract this morning, there were several services that were scheduled throughout the year, was itemized, so that we know that we're not just putting, $8,000 in their pocket and $4,000 in material and supply and labor. So with that in mind, and given we had no notice, we paid him $400 more than we should have for that period for 4 months. So he also didn't mow the lot out here. He damaged some roses over here in the park that he never compensated for. And I thought that if he feels like we owe him any money, he needs to break it down a little more clearly than just simply, you owe me for this whole piece of service, because many things were being paid for in that 5,040, and I don't have a clear breakdown to say how much of which product, of which service, that he should be compensated for.
I just want to make sure council is aware that we're not paying the October bill.
No, we paid the October bill. He did not service in November or December. We did not pay the November bill, and his 11,000 bill was also oddly, for services in December. That was 6,000 of the $11,000
I just don't
bill.
want there to be a surprise after the fact. after
John,
the-
do you feel like we're flush?
So I don't understand. Do you
Do you feel like we're good with what we have paid to the landscaper to this point? Or do you feel like we owe funds?
Personally, I think we don't have all the detail, I agree with Kev, but he did put down 25 bags of fertiliser, 25 bags of seed, and a lot of bales of wheat straw, which is a big expense that ordinarily would have been spread over the whole year. So I think he's probably do something, not necessarily the full 11,000 that he's asking for. And also remember, it also includes the town hall maintenance, this bi-weekly service thing. So that's all part of the temporary service as well.
And
John, the reason I'm trying to clarify the dollar amount for the contract is because I know you're asking for money for mulch that you're going to spread at your own time.
Right.
And I want to make sure that we're not going to have to pay for mulch and also have to reimburse the landscaper.
That's separate from what's happened in the past, right? So he's applied fertiliser, straw and seed that happened in the past. We know he's not providing anything going forward. Instead of us paying $5,000 a month, approximately, going forward for the next 3 months, 4 months,
2.5 months.
for the next,
December, November, December, November, and January.
so instead of paying that, it's what, 1,800?
That'd be 5, 10, 15,000 we would pay him.
No, I'm talking for the temporary guy for the next few months going forward. It's about 1,900 a month.
1,100 for 4 weeks, yeah.
11, instead of paying 5,000 a month, we're spending 11, 12.
11, 12, 13, depending on the
There's
odd week.
$4,000 difference a month. So by reducing the services over the next few months, we're going to be in pocket about 8,000, around 7,000, 8,000. 100 cubic yards of mulch delivered would be 4,200. So we've still got money in the bank after we buy the mulch.
I think, well, at least on my behalf, I think maybe you misunderstood, John, you misunderstood Amanda's question. Do you feel like we owe the old landscaper any more money?
I believe we might, based on the fact he provided 25 bags of fertiliser, 25 bags of seed, numerous bales of straw, which I didn't count, aerated, so there's a labour involved with that. So I believe he's probably do something, but not necessarily the full 11,000. And I can't tell you how much he is due.
Well, I think too that, given he just canceled on us, I mean, with no notice whatsoever, I think he needs to maybe spread that out a little bit better and maybe justify what he's due, because the way that we set up the contract, we were paying for a full year on a monthly basis. And he basically did this to himself, just stopping cold and then sending us a $12,000, $11,000 bill.
Kathy,
$6,000 for December.
Yeah, the reason I bring this up is to cover yourself more than anybody else, because we're not going to get the phone call when he doesn't get a paycheck. You're going to get the phone call, and we want to come to a collaboration as far as what we want you to tell him when he calls.
My thoughts are that when he calls, we'll bring that up at the next meeting, if I can't resolve it with Amanda and the attorney. But I think that he needs to give a little bit better justification than you just owe us this money. And maybe he needs to say, what am I was supposed to provide in January, February, March? What did I provide? Let's balance that out. But to me, I don't have the number or the figure of the calculations to figure. The other thing too is what you guys choose to spend the money on that we save is fine with me. I have no opinion on that. But I do want to wait and see how he responds to the email that I sent him today.
Okay. Well, my suggestion is, if he does call you up or send you an email or send you a bill, my recommendation, and I think council could approve this, your response should be, okay, let me take this to council and see what they say.
Well, absolutely.
Instead of you deciding what we're gonna do as we move forward.
Right, right. This initial bill here, he canceled, and I just told him we don't owe anything. And I sent it to Amanda and the attorney to see what he would respond with, and of course, that will come back.
I will be surprised if we don't hear from him again. So, when you do hear from him again, whatever form that is, just tell him to check with counsel, check with Amanda, check with legal, and we'll move forward from there. Don't put yourself on the hook.
No. And I agree 100%. Thank you.
Yes, John?
Just my opinion, a fair settlement would be if he can provide us with the invoices he received for the fertilizer, seed and straw. I know how many bags there is because I counted them. Before they put them out, when they arrived and after they emptied the bags, I counted them, so I have a record of that. So I think a fair resolution might be if he presents us with the invoices for the money he spent on those things, we subtract from it 4/12 because he already got paid for that in the 4 months of this contract he was there. We subtract from it 4/12, and then pay him the 8/12 of that material, minus $350 for the roses he killed behind the stage that he never replaced.
And to clarify, with the reason he's saying 4/12 is their contract started July 1st.
I can't remember the
Yes.
exact date. It's a 12-month contract and he's spreading all his costs over 12 months.
Right.
He got his portion for a few months on the new contract. He's not got his portion for the remainder of the contract that he cancelled. So we only give him 8/12 of the value of that material if he presents us with the invoice.
But you can see how complicated this is, and I just want to make sure.
Exactly.
Well, I think we're making it very complicated.
It is very
It all comes down to one issue. He defaulted on the contract. He had a
Absolutely.
contract, he defaulted on the contract. I say we don't owe him a dime, move on.
Agreed.
Well,
Just my opinion.
we can discuss that.
John, that's different.
No,
That's my opinion. He defaulted on the contract. So-
I just want to make sure
quickly.
that when Kathy gets the phone call or the email, she knows just. to
Then
bring it
let's
to us
decide
and
right
discuss
now. David's making a motion that we do not owe anything, is that correct? He defaulted?
Sure.
Do I have a second?
it. I will second, provided I get some input from George.
I don't know. I mean, I've responded. I saw her email today. There's nothing to talk about at this point until the guy comes back and
Right.
says, "You owe me this," or doesn't respond. He may never ever respond. So,
The contract does say 30 days.
I mean, I think it's premature to wonder whether or not. I mean, I think your position is the right one. Like until he says you owe me, then
We let it lie.
And
Let
we've also paid him for services in January, February, March. If you allocate it over 12 months, we paid him for a lot of services he hasn't done. So you'd have to net that against what he did get and didn't get. So when I thought this through, it is very complicated. And so I said, you know what, you defaulted, we'll just close it. But if it comes back,
Well, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
We just need to make sure he doesn't owe us money.
he doesn't owe us money. He doesn't owe us any money.
I'm fine with basically tabling any discussion about it until we've heard back.
Oh, I don't think we've tabled it. We have a motion and a second. We're gonna vote on it.
Can we retract before we vote?
Yeah?
Okay, I'm retract my motion.
Oh, no, he's
Try
got
to
to retract his second.
Go ahead.
So,
And we
retract
didn't
your
clear on the motion because I didn't
Yeah,
get any.
we'll wait.
motion dies.
So David, what are your thoughts?
Just as George said, wait and see what comes back. And if it comes back at that point, we decide what action we take.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Council good with that?
So before you move on, can you approve or disapprove the moving forward with the temporary service and then the expenditure on the mulch?
I have a question before we do that. So, the $675 price, is that for the week 1 and week 3 service? Or is it $675 for week 1 and $675 for week 3?
Exactly, yes.
$675 for week 1.
It's per service.
$375 and $675 and $375. That's a lot more than $1,100. That's more like $2,100.
Right. Well, it's for 2 weeks, it's $1,100, $1,200, the combined service. The 2 weeks is $2,200.
That's why I said 1,800. I thought it was 600 plus 300-ish.
It's well, and I did it by week because, coming into January, there's 5 weeks, 4 weeks, so you have to do it by week. So every 2 weeks is the $1,100 for the full round of services, and then that's every 2 weeks, and that's why I worded it that way.
So it's $1,050 every 2 weeks.
Right.
And how many weeks we're talking about, but before I approve
Talking about 3 months,
extra
right?
money, I want to make sure there is extra
3
money.
months. So 3 months, times that by
Times how many?
12.
So
Or
12 or 13 weeks.
No, just times 3.
Well, 12 weeks, add 13 weeks would be a good enough guesstimate. 13 weeks divided by 2 is, what, 6.5, 7 weeks is 7 times 1,100. Just kind of round. I don't know what I'm talking about top of my head like that. I gotta use a calculator.
This should be done at council meeting.
Okay, we're probably gonna have to table the mulch till we have a chance to.
Now,
Add up all the
I'm
figures.
okay with us approving a motion, should there be any extra funds, that it can be allocated for mulch, just not approving X dollars of mulch until we know what the dollar amount is.
Council?
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Because now's the
Get
time,
some.
now's the time to be doing that work, so. So the first thing, the main thing is, the grass still has to be mowed, the trash still has to be emptied. All those are things that the landscaper left us high and dry on.
So
So we
let's-
have to have somebody do it in the interim. So I'll make the motion that we adopt the interim contract from, what is it, Green Space?
Yes.
Green Space Landscaping, for a short-term contract while we rebid the landscape contract for Dogwood Park and Town Hall.
All right, do I have a second?
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous to go with that interim contract.
One thing I would clarify is that that short-term contract does not include the water maintenance portion of the dry retention ponds here at the park and the.
He will make, it doesn't during this contract, but he did give us a quote for, and it will include it for that.
Well, we're not doing that for the short-term contract, we're going to do that as part of the long-term contract. Okay.
And I'll make a motion that should there be any funds left over from what was originally budgeted for the prior landscaping contractor versus green space lawn care, that money be allocated towards purchasing mulch for the park.
Up to $4,200?
Well, up to whatever. the
Delivered
number
for
was.
100 cubic yard is 4,200 bucks.
I'll second.
Second.
Are we capping it at 4,200 or anything between?
You're in motion.
Well, I mean, if there's 5,000 left over and 4,200 is all we need, then you only spend 4,200. But if there's not 4,200 left over, we don't
They won't
spend.
spend, right, got it.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second from Deb. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. All right. So that brings us to,
I'm sorry, one thing I need to clarify.
Mhm.
John, with the mulch, does that include Town Hall?
No,
Village Hall.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, just had to clarify that.
okay,
Next.
all right, so that brings us to the finance officer report.
Finance officer report. Our reports, I've been going through them. I don't see any issues unless you have any questions. We are on target where we should be. Funds always lag first half of the year. Our ad valorem taxes don't come in. They were just billed in September. They're due in January, so we're still kind of waiting on those. And then, of course, our sales and use tax and our the other allocated taxes, they're 3 months behind. So the 3 months we did get are credited to last year. So the same thing will happen this year. So we're $200,000 short, but that's just the way it is in government for right now. The second thing is we have an audit every year that was due October 31st. It has not been done, but that is not to alarm anyone. The LGC has asked that we follow a certain model that the LGC puts together model financials for villages, cities, and towns, which are synonymous, and for the county. The county sample financials are not up yet for municipalities to follow. So our auditor is waiting on those before she sends me what I need to review to get back to her. Once I approve it, we're good to go. I did confirm with the LGC that their sample financials are not up yet, so I've directed our auditor to go ahead and do them the way that we did last year, review and audit the way that she did last year and give me those financials for review. So we're going to do that and go ahead and get our audit online. If we have to change it, we will. I don't think much will change because we're not really complicated in that like bigger municipalities that had a lot more money. So we are waiting. The LGC has not given me a date that the audit is due, and only about 20 of the municipalities have actually put their audits up on the LGC website. So we're waiting on that. Any questions?
Yes, we have an auditor.
We have an auditor.
Okay, and is it the same auditor we used last year?
Yes, Kendra Gangle.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah, and she's amazing. So I feel good at where we are because the LGC is the one who's going to review us and penalize us, and they're the reason. So they should be fine. All right, village policies for council. This is just an introduction. We have 3 policies. Our rules of procedure, which pretty much are stagnant. They haven't changed. Also, the rules of procedure, the only thing taken out of your rules of procedure were rules that govern boards and committees, and that was put into the boards and committees rules and procedures. Your procedures still say that you create, model, and handle the councils, the boards and committees the way that you always have. So there's no major change there. Our attorney has looked at them. You also have the ethics. Those ethics come straight from the School of Government. They're not like your old ones. They are just the 6 canons that they put out on ethics conduct. You can change them if you like. We can go back to the old ones. I just pulled the new ones because those are the ones that I'm most familiar with. And the last thing that we have is we have a set on the very last set of the policy guidelines. There are some things that you as a council kind of need to know statutorily. So those, I could make 20 pages of those if I wanted to, but I just pulled out some common ones. Conflicts of interest, the requirements for ethics trainings, what do you do about gifts, remote attendance policy. We don't have one, but it just says that should any of you want to participate remotely, you'll do it according to that policy if one exists, and we don't have one, but it's just there because policies are set to set the tone, and if we decide to set, a remote policy, then your rules here will just say we follow that, or we'll incorporate them in.
So some of what you just said, I thought was in our last copy of the rules of procedure in regards to remote meetings, because we dealt with that in 2020.
You did have that in there.
Okay, because you just said we didn't have it.
Well, it's on the last set of policies, the remote attendance conversation. And like I said, this is just the first draft, so if you see some overlap or spelling errors, or you see anything that you want changed, any formatting issues, just let me know and I'll fix it. There are a lot of documents coming to my office, so any help I get would be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
So we say,
So when do you want us to have, January?
yeah, we can put it back on January, and we can see.
So if everybody can try to have those reviewed and your comments to Kathy for the deadline for our January meeting?
Yeah, I just wanted to introduce you to these, that's all. We're just trying to clean up, get everything kind of uniform so we have a fresh start, but nothing major.
In 25 years, we only had to do council member virtually one time. And that was Elaine Rusoff when she was in London.
I did pass out a paper. We do have to move forward with, there's a picture of the front of the website. We have to approve colors and basically like the design. So if you would just think about it and give me your thoughts, that would be great. It does not have to be done tonight. And then we did talk to the website provider about going ahead and bringing all of the minutes over to the new website, so staff doesn't have to do that. And that is an additional, we had like an additional 50 extra meetings than what they normally bring over. So it's all minutes, not just the last 5 years that we have online. And that we are asking for a motion to approve the $1,750. We have money in the website line item to pay for that. So it wouldn't be asking for any additional money.
All minutes for council or all minutes for all boards?
This is all of them.
All boards.
Wow. Okay. Sounds like a good deal to me.
There are there's 175 meetings, and there's agenda minutes, agenda packets, and the council meetings that go with that.
Will it also include the meeting recordings? The audio recordings that we
We
do.
didn't discuss the recording, I can ask if you'd like.
Yeah, because
The
they
the
used to,
recordings, I don't know how far they go, they can ask, they'll incorporate what's there.
they used to be there for a really long time. I mean, because
Past
I
5
mean,
years?
huh?
We have recordings like 5 years and before? We can.
I just
I'll
said
ask
a
her.
long time. I don't know. I wasn't looking for that. I was just saying, was the recordings part of this additional work?
We did not ask about that, because they did say they would transfer all that stuff over.
Everything for 5
It was
years.
just the minutes that were the extra, but we will confirm with that.
Question?
Yes, sir, yes, ma'am.
The picture that you've provided for us, those icons that are in, go across the front of the, is that the way that's gonna look?
Just the design.
It won't say those words.
No,
that's
but
just
I
the
mean,
option.
they're gonna be in the middle of the picture like that?
Yeah.
Yes. But that's not the picture we have to use. We
I
can
know,
change
but-
the picture at any time.
I just don't know why you have to have them all across the thing like that. Why don't you just have them in a upper corner or where they're together? People don't, I mean, it
So-
just looks,
So write down all your thoughts
okay,
and get them to me, and we can discuss them.
okay.
We'll discuss them. So this is just your first draft to see what, first draft. So just write down your thoughts and what you think. And then we will meet with them. Okay? All right. So I need a motion to approve 1750 to get all the minutes onto the new website.
So motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? All right. And then that brings us to the planning board report.
No planning board meeting. Kind of busy. I guess you would like me to talk about the other.
Yes.
I do have one thing for you. I was invited by some engineers with Bolton and Mink working for Coulter. They wanted for me to come out and talk to them about their Greenway Trail. For those that were around either on the planning board or on council back in 2016, or were just generally aware of what was going on, when the Heritage subdivision was approved as a conditional rezoning, and it seemed to go, I was reading back through the minutes, it seemed to go back and forth a little bit, but the village, they were going to have to pay $19,000 for the Parks and Recreation fee per the subdivision ordinance. They instead offered to build a Greenway Trail. A segment of the Carolina Thread Trail goes through there. They're also going to build connectors from the Carolina Thread Trail to the neighborhood, and there's a small plaque here. But the red line on there is the Carolina Thread Trail. This is a updated engineering drawing from a week ago. They, on their rezoning plan, they had made a theoretical design or interpretive design that was shown to cross the stream several times, which starts making things very expensive and difficult to keep in good shape. They have a new design now that keeps it, it's still in the floodplain a lot of it, but keeps it from crossing the creek a whole lot. There's a crossing for Union County where they have a sewer easement through there. But when the village approved the rezoning, for one reason or another I'm not privy to, the village had decided that it was going to maintain said portion of the Greenway Trail within the village. It's in the minutes, and it's on their plan. So they wanted to talk about that. We've talked about it. I looked at their plan, said that looks very expensive to maintain, not always ADA compliant. On some little hills they have. They said that the village, or the town of Indian Trail is going to, or the HOA is going to maintain the portion in Indian Trail, at least until such time as the Carolina Thread Trail connects to other public trails. They indicated they would be very happy for the HOA. The developers would be very happy for the Heritage HOA to maintain the trail in Wesley Chapel as they're going to be doing in Indian Trail. I communicated that to the mayor after I had my meeting with them. and we thought that we would, come to you quickly. They would like to get started on construction of this trail. They have some final improvements to make on those two eastern sections of the subdivision, this being one of their obligations to install. And the question before you is essentially, would you like to maintain this Greenway Trail, or would you not like to maintain this Greenway Trail? If you would not like to, then the plan would be for me to communicate back with the engineers, and they would have their attorneys or whomever, for the developer, draw up an agreement whereby the Village of Wesley Chapel would fulfill its obligation to maintain it by agreeing with the homeowners association to maintain it.
Well, I know you said you went back and looked at the minutes, but I was part of that organization, part of that decision, and I would have bet dollars to donuts that we had specifically asked the HOA to be responsible for the maintenance of that, because
Well, I think at one time they had decided to, before it went to the public hearing. I've read Bill's staff, but I just don't want to quote chapter and verse. I will read from the minutes from November 14th, 2016. At the conclusion of the public hearing, Bill Dustin noted the applicant is proposing to build the greenway, and we would maintain it. We being the
That's
royal
what I
we.
remember.
David Gracky noted that the north end, the trail meets the road, and there is a trail along the road. The Indian Trail had a condition that there be an 8-foot wide sidewalk. Bill Dustin noted the trail is instead of a fee in lieu of approximately $19,000, and that was the end of the public hearing. And so it was on the plan. Bill said it. I think the mayor at the time mentioned it. There's a 2-month hearing process for that, and so we could probably argue that might have been made. There are documents out there indicating that once it's completed, we will maintain it. And so I think since the developer is wanting to have their homeowner association maintain it, and the village apparently does not want to maintain it, then maybe taking them up on their offer might save everybody a lot of headaches down the road.
We don't have a staff or a budget to
Right.
maintain it, so if we can fulfill our obligation by having them maintain it.
So my conversation with George was that if I would communicate back with the developer and their agent to put together some sort of agreement that would allow the village to fulfill its obligation without having to go back and amend the conditional zoning, and then if the council does want to vote and have a motion to allow the HOA to fulfill the village's maintenance obligations, and if we could get agreement that met George's muster, then allow the mayor to sign it as well.
Would it be in perpetuity? Or until it connected to
That's
the
a great
job?
question. If you're around 99 years from now, then I think the agreement would just be that the HOA agree that Coulter and by extension the owners association for the Heritage Subdivision agree that they will fulfill the maintenance obligation on behalf of the town or the village. I'm sorry.
So do we have a motion, council?
I make a motion that we do not take on the maintenance of the trail, that we ask the HOA to do it. Is that
Yeah, but I think you might want to word your motion
So
that
we
we take up.
fulfill our obligation by having the HOA maintain
fulfill our
maintain the
obligation
trail.
by having the HOA maintain
the trail?
the trail?
Is that sufficient?
And to authorize you to sign an agreement.
And authorize the mayor to sign
An agreement to that
an
effect.
agreement to that effect.
If it's presented acceptably.
Yes.
But they need to get started. I think they went out and provided a new engineer drawing like over a weekend to get this
So they're anxious.
to me last week, so
we have a
they need to
motion.
get started with construction while the weather is good.
Have you seen the trail?
Have I seen it in person?
Mhm.
I don't think it exists.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
Yeah, I don't know if any of it exists. The portion in Western Chapel does not exist. This can be field engineered as they build it.
Thank you, Vaughn. Anything else?
It's been busy, but otherwise.
David, stormwater. And then David, you wanted to talk about stormwater?
Just to give an update, there were several residents that attended last month's meeting. Was it last month? With the stormwater runoff issues last month. Time flies. And I knew that we had encouraged the residents to also reach out to the county commissioner, so purposely, I've been keeping an eye on the agenda for the county commissioner meeting. On the November the 6th agenda, there was no mention of stormwater runoff issues, but there was an item that was added by Commissioner Brian Helms to have some discussions about that. Keep in mind, this is, after we approved to fund Labella for any issues that would crop up, the residents could get in touch with Labella and deal directly with them. The action that was taken by the county commissioners was they made a motion to direct staff to engage with officials of the Village of Westlake Chapel and the town of Indian Trail and DOT and any other relevant parties to facilitate discussion and analysis of causes and potential engineering solutions for the stormwater affecting affecting Wesley Woods, Taylor Glen, and the Winding Creek neighborhoods. There was 0 discussion. It was voted on and passed unanimously. That was the motion. I talked with Brian Matthews on my way in this evening, and he said that their plan was for the county to start discussions, to look for, to investigate what the issues are, come up with some possible solutions, and then engage the municipalities.
So kind of like what we're doing.
Yep. So.
Good job, David. Good job keeping up on it.
So, regardless of what it says about us on what certain individuals say about us on social media, we are not taking a stagnant attitude towards this. We're being proactive.
And I know Bonnie's associates have reached out to a couple people, and then they will also be reaching out to Winding Creek. So, sounds good?
That's it.
All right, so that brings us to the Park and Rec report.
Okay. Short and sweet. Let's see. We have, in our last meeting, we decided that we want to go forward with the master plan and start working on our next phase of grant applications. So in a prior session, I think that we had with Kathy, she mentioned that there's agencies that we can reach out to and get create an RFP, reach out to agencies to start us down the path of doing the surveys and developing, what we need to ask, our community in order to find out what they're looking for in terms of, the next steps. So, we motioned to, as a group, to go forward with that, so. The last event we had was pretty successful, beautiful day. That was the Fall Bash, that was the 28th. I think what we have, Gordon, about 500 people.
600, I think, just over 600 was the.
It was just over 600, yes, sir.
So it's by far, I think, our most popular event every year. Next up is Coco's and Carols on December 9th. I think it's December 9th.
Yes.
And let's see, we're moving along with everything for that, so we should be ready to go. And then we've got, we really don't have anything. We've got 2024 event planning here, but we had to table that in our last meeting. So we'll probably, we meet this Thursday and then again on the, I think it's the 7th of December. So we'll probably pick up with that. So I really don't have anything to give you at this point in time. But one other thing, and I think Mike asked to add this, was I was going to have Gordon come up because he did some research on crosswalks crosswalks for you, so you wanna, and then that's it.
Well, we've got to circle back to the RFP comment, and then we also have to talk about Southbrook. But Gordon can go ahead and talk about crosswalks.
All right. Mayor Fuller, councilmen, council members. For feedback with you, I wanted to thank Councilman Boyce for the contact. It proved very successful. I talked with Mr. Tony Lanther down at NCDOT. He forwarded my request to a gentleman by the name of Sean Epperson, who is the Deputy Division Engineer down at NCDOT. He responded back with the following: we allow crosswalks at locations where there are larger than expected volume of crossing. When looking at a location, we would allow a crosswalk. We take into account what would be needed to provide a safe crossing at the crosswalk. This is determined by looking at the speed of the roadway, the volume of the traffic of the roadway, the number of lanes that need to be crossed, and other site-specific criteria. Depending upon what we find in this evaluation, we may recommend the following. And I've got some handouts. May I approach?
Sure.
Right, I'm going to give you some placards that he sent me. Now, from what I understand, these may be a little old, but they are what Mr. Epperson sent me as far as referencing materials. These are the current designs, or what he says were current designs. Yeah. And
Thank you.
Just give me one. Thank you.
They would also recommend either signage, or as you look on page 1 and 2 of the handout, rectangular rapid flashing beacons. I won't read all the details and criteria for them. I'll leave that for yourself to look at. They could also recommend a pedestrian hybrid beacon, which is more like a traffic light that actually extends over the road. The rapid flashing beacons are more on the sides, triangular signage with flashing lights. And also a pedestrian refuge island is also something they could recommend, or some other treatment to help ensure the safe crossing of pedestrians. Looking at the plans that he provided me, that might be something that the council may consider, the pedestrian refuge island. But again, there are some cost figures that are associated with those in the back page, each one, that allow you to get an idea of the cost approximate, at least what they provided me as numbers for these. Your second question was about the intersection of NC 84 and Lester Davis Road. Currently, there is no sidewalks at this location, but we would allow a crosswalk here, but we would need to at least have some sidewalks installed at this intersection, ideally leading away from the intersection itself. Based on the volume of traffic at NC 84, we would want something more than just signage for this crosswalk, especially factoring in the speed as well of vehicles on that road. What exactly would take some additional valuation on NCDOT's end. They would have to do an evaluation. I want to also say that we have a project funded to widen this section of NC 84, and he's attached the copies which I've provided you. Again, from what I understand, we do have sidewalks that are planned to come from the town hall all the way down to the sports field. So that might end that portion of the issue. But again, these are what they handed us, and again, this was from Sean Epperson, Deputy Division NC Engineer at NCDOT. Any questions?
Yeah, so just for clarification, your request was just about crossing at the park? This wasn't about beacons elsewhere in the village?
No, ma'am, I asked for a basic question on crosswalks at that specific location. I could readdress it to specific areas if you so desire.
No, I just wanted to make sure I was clear on the context.
Yes, ma'am.
John?
A long time ago, when they were designing the widening of 84, a set of drawings was submitted by DOT. At that time, a request was made to DOT to include a crosswalk, and after that request, they sent a revised drawing to the village that included a crosswalk from Southbrook, I think Mike has it there, from Southbrook across 84 and and it was on the opposite side to the park, and a crosswalk across Lester Davis. So the DOT amended all their planning to include a crosswalk in the widening of 84. And it has the sidewalks down the side, sidewalk going all the way up to Harris Teeter. So DOT already put that in the planning process for widening of 84.
The timing on this was supposed to be started in 2019 and finished in 2020, but of course, here we are in 2023, and it still hasn't even been,
They sent us, somebody has them somewhere, a set of revised drawings, Mike's got them right there, that includes a crosswalk from
Well,
Southbrook to the park.
After talking with Gordon, I did reach out to Sean Epperson. So I have not heard back from him, so I can do a follow-up and ask for a copy of the plans that I can say I have seen plans. Can I get a copy of what you have currently at that intersection?
He did state that if we can do this, if the village is serious about trying crosswalks here, he says, I want to also say that, and again, that's why I want to get back with you, because this is the time for insertion or amending the plans at this point. So that's why he was saying, if you are serious, then this is the time to talk to him about it.
My point was they already amended the plans to include a crosswalk.
Well, we will make sure that that's still what they have on the agenda and what exactly it looks like.
Mayor?
Because who knows?
Yes?
Yeah, sure.
we're going to send this to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I don't know if any of you guys remember, several years ago, a pedestrian at the courthouse in Monroe was killed at a crosswalk because the person didn't stop. Anybody remember that? Several years ago. It took, at that intersection, people don't even see the crosswalk unless there are lights flashing. And that's the only way they could get motorists to stop on that little road there in front of the fire department in Monroe, is to put the pedestrian hits a button and it makes the lights come up red, and that stops traffic. Especially on 84, you're going to have some sort of lights or something. It's not,
Well,
or they won't stop.
to clarify, the new plan does have a traffic light at
Okay.
that intersection.
Okay.
And there have been multiple pedestrian deaths in Charlotte for people making right turns on red and running over people because they're not seeing it, even though they should be looking where they're going.
I think that's why they put the crosswalk to the left of Lester Davis, because there is no left turn. People have to turn right, make a U-turn and come back.
My point is that it is a big problem, especially when you consider the speed and everything else, and that's why I do like the beacon idea and the lights. I have seen them in other cities in the RDU area where it's like all traffic, 4 lanes will stop for people to walk across. I'm like, you'll just die out here, so.
The RFF, or the flashing beacon on the sides, is pedestrian operated, and so are the hybrid versions. They do indicate that they have 98, it ranges from a 98% success rate all the way down to a 19% success rate, depending upon the city that they're put into. Obviously, the 19%, I was curious and looked it up, I was in New York, so they're a little less apt to stop for flashing lights.
Yeah.
But they are successful, and these are something that if you want me to dig deeper, I can. Just
And I'd also like to see people just drive 45 through there. That would be a nice improvement too.
Well, thank you, Gordon, for that. I will reach out and I will let you know when I get a copy of whatever they've got on it, see if it is truly what the village would like to see.
just wait.
Thank you, Gordon.
Lori, to your point, the right on red happened when we had major gas shortages, and they did that to save gas. But I did hear on the radio the other day that they are considering making it illegal to do right on red now
Well,
because
there
of so many
was
people are being killed by,
left turns on red,
Yeah.
you know, in one direction, and that's been gradually rolled back.
yeah.
And I think the right turns are,
I think we're the only country that does that I know.
because we don't really care about people walking, we rather people drive.
So we need to circle back to the master plan RFP. So state again what you said, Pat.
Well, we are ready to move to the next phase of the up park. I mean, what do we want to do with our park? What else do we want to do with the master plan? We probably, I know we had discussions before that the Fire committee said they loved our park. They said you really should you should apply for another grant. And, you know, this is what we need in order to do that is all the foundation information. And I think Kathy had said, it's been a few meetings since we've been able to, that there are agencies out there that will assist. And we wanted to do an RFQ to a few agencies so that we could start moving forward with that. And putting together the information we need to, and one of the big things is creating a questionnaire that we would circulate to, just similar to what we did the first go-around. We started with a big survey
And that
Glean.
netted us a $500,000 grant.
Exactly. And we were able to glean a lot of information. I remember one of the top items people wanted were fishing, and so it drove heavily on what decisions we made on the property that we selected. So, you know, now that we're developed, there's next things. We've got our community center, we've got this property here. What do we want to do with this 6 acres here, and things like that, 4 acres. Same thing. So, I mean, this is something that we do well with our night events, our movie events. You know, is there anything we can do with this area back here? Can we put up like you know, not to mention or anywhere near the amphitheater that we have at the park, but some kind of platform for, you know, movies or just some music or something, whatever. You know, we've got to start somewhere.
The grant process awards points, and you get a lot of points for citizen input, basically survey data. Having a master plan, ours are now all too old for us to get any points whatsoever for them. So the committee is talking that we need to refresh that if we want to apply for future grants. We need to have documentation that's less than 5 years old. Ours is now all way more than 5 years old. So they need to start the process, and it's usually driven by survey data, finding out what the citizens want us to do, and then developing a master plan to deliver what the citizens ask us to do.
So is your $40,000 because your $40,000 is to reach out and start the survey process? So you want to do an RFP to start the survey process?
And when you said agencies for the RFP, you're talking about the groups you would submit the RFP to bid on.
Exactly. And I'm sure there's several that do this very well for other communities, and I think you knew of some, didn't you?
I cannot hear Councilmember Bailey. Could you speak this way maybe so I can understand? I didn't understand what you said. You asked a question.
Are you good?
Yep.
I had said that when she had mentioned talking about agencies and all, that to clarify that she meant to send the RFP to those agencies, not those agencies help us write an RFP.
Gotcha, thank you.
Now, the frustrating part for me is it's been more than 10 years now. When they put the check in our hand for $500,000, they told us you should immediately apply for another grant because your score is so high, you're almost guaranteed to get it. And in the last 11-plus years, we've applied for a total of no grants.
No, actually we did. We applied for the playground and we did not get any money because we didn't get any points. Our survey was too old, our master plan was too, everything was too old, we didn't get points for it. So
And
we-
none of this end of the council was on council at that time.
Understand?
So we were rejected. That was a part F grant application for the playground.
And there are Part F grants that go unclaimed as well.
So what you're asking for is a motion from council to support $440,000 to go towards an RFP towards the participant survey portion.
Amanda?
I'm gonna have to put you in contempt.
Well, he's doing.
5,000 was taken out of the master plan to pay for the pump, so it's actually not 40,000 anymore, because you guys agreed.
Wait a minute, wait.
We have money in contingency,
We
so
got a
the
promise.
amount is.
So you're asking for a motion for 40,000.
For an
So
RFP,
he started, yes.
to start the survey
So
process.
is the 40,000 is expected to fund the survey?
That should pay for all of it, just FYI.
It should
Like every-
more than pay for it, I would think.
There should be some change left over.
Yeah.
Up to 40,000.
I mean, considering we asked some questions already in the comprehensive survey, in the comprehensive plan survey, we shouldn't have to resurvey.
I don't know, it's
Get
getting kind of
confident
old
on
now. What I don't want to see happen is a couple years ago, an agency was paid to do all the questions, and then council and committees knew better than the organization that wrote the questions, and then all the questions got changed. And then they weren't really representative. So if we hire the agency to write the survey, we need to trust them completely.
Because
Yeah,
we do want,
with oversight, obviously,
yeah, but I mean, there's to the mayor's point, because without the proper survey design and execution, you don't have statistical significance. If there's no statistical significance, it will not get my support.
Exactly, and
Correct on that.
obviously, we're hoping these agencies are gonna be able to give us the guidance and dig up the data that we need to also supplement.
Vaughn, do you have any agencies you would recommend the RFP going to that you might could pass along to us? Okay, thank you. So
That's
council,
all.
I need a motion.
So motion.
Can you make a full motion?
Motion we approve up to $40,000 for the park master plan, including surveys and all the other appropriate.
No, you're just approving 40,000 for a survey.
I think it'd be more than enough for the survey,
You can pay for the whole plan for $40,000.
the whole master plan. With the intent the intent of, at the end of applying for grant opportunities for the park.
So, okay, so approve up to 40,000 for master plan for the park, beginning with an RFP,
I mean,
Correct.
previously, you asked for 90,000, but now 40,000 will solve the problem of the master plan?
I don't know the exact
I,
numbers.
you know what, I really don't know what we need. I'm looking for, to be able to find out from a few agencies exactly what is involved, what they do charge, and then bid it out to them, you know, accordingly. So, exactly how much it's gonna cost us, we don't know yet, but I think we're basing the 40,000 on just a general discussion that we had in here, you know, several months back about there are agencies out there that do this type of thing, and, you know, which we do know about, and so I don't know what kind of emotion would go around that.
Mike, you were wordsmithing it.
To approve up to $40,000 for the RFP for a master plan to include the survey, an updated survey, and anything else required to complete the RFP for the park master plan.
So it's actually delivering a master plan, not just doing an RFP.
Because we don't have the exact numbers, Yes. I don't know if that will fly or not, but we'll see.
Okay, so we have a motion.
I'm still not clear on approve up to 40,000 for the RFP for the master plan,
Including updated survey
including updating survey.
and any other requirements for the comprehensive plan, or the master plan.
The motion is, I thought the motion was to spend up to $40,000 on the master plan, beginning with an RFP and the survey through consulting.
Correct.
Can we say a motion to spend up to $40,000 for an RFP for a survey to implement the master plan? Would that
No,
work?
We want the $40,000 to cover the master plan,
Okay,
not just the survey.
Okay, so approve up to 40,000 for the RFP for the master plan to include update survey and any other requirements from the comprehensive plan for the survey.
Master
Oh,
plan.
Just say $40,000 for the plan.
Okay.
Could I risk being in contempt here? Because we actually checked with what other villages have spent recently, and that's why when you go back to the budget, that's why we asked for 90,000.
But I remember I checked too, and I found somebody who did it for way, way less than what you had found. And they had outlined it step by step what they were gonna do.
And
Which
that's
is
why,
why council cut it down.
that's why we were kind of.
And Vaughn, how often do you do surveys like this or are involved in stuff
Well, so
like
I've written some Parks and Rec master plans before.
this? Okay.
Not for like Charlotte or, 100,000 person cities. For a small community such as Wesley Chapel, that has very few park facilities now, it does not have to be the same level of effort that would be required for a city of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands.
So basically, your company should receive an RFP from the Village of Wesley Chapel for a
That's
master
up to
plan.
you.
But you feel confident that 40,000 should get us a plan
It will be-
with your expertise?
I think get you a plan.
Okay, approve up to 40,000 to implement.
No, not to implement.
Okay, approve up to 40.
$40,000 to submit to
Prepare.
prepare an RFP
Prepare.
for a Parks and Rec master plan,
An RFP,
including a survey.
There
master
you go.
plan, including a
But
survey.
the
Okay.
RFP doesn't say you're going to do the plan.
And I want to understand why we're allocating money to develop an RFP.
Exactly. We want to approve $40,000 for the development of a master plan, in which requires a submission of RFP for competitive bids, which will likely spend money for community surveys. But we want the plan, and whatever it takes to get that.
So say that in a motion.
I got 40,000 for the development of a master plan to include an RFP for competitive bids and what?
Surveys or whatever's necessary to write a plan.
Okay, well, 40,000 for the development of the master plan to include RFP for competitive bid.
Yes.
And whatever is needed to complete the plan.
And whatever is needed. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion from Mike, is that correct?
Sure.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank
Any
you
further
all.
discussion?
I think it's a good place to start.
Took the words out of my mouth. I was trying to think of a way to say that, but I think this is a good starting point. Pat, if once you guys go out and you see that a master plan is gonna cost $140,000,
Then you can
at least that point, at that point, we can come back and redefine it, but I think this gives us the first step.
Yeah, and I think to Vaughn's point, thinking about the size of the municipality and the size of the park that we're talking about has to be part of that criteria for who we select. Like, we should not be soliciting the same people who do stuff like that for Charlotte.
Well,
An example of a really large city. So it's about making sure that they understand our size and aren't trying to.
How many residents do we have in Wesley?
Less
under
than
10.
9,000.
Just under 10?
Less than 9,000.
So the proposal is not necessarily for the survey, but for somebody to tell us what we need to do the whole thing? Is that what
And give us the
And
plan.
give us the plan.
And give us the plan. Are they authorized to move forward with the survey? But no, because we've got to select the person we're going to use first, and then we'll go forward. Okay, got it. That
All
makes
right,
sense.
so we have any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Unanimous? Okay. And that brings us to Southbrook. Mike, you wanted to add this?
Yes, when we were originally approached by Southbrook Church, and this was for more than a year, they didn't really have things organized to have an event like this. So we didn't do it last year. This year they approached us early enough. We said, look, I think it's a great idea, but you're going to have to get over many hurdles. And you're going to have to present to Parks and Rec, and you're going to have to present to council, and you're going to have to let them know that what they're concerned about is going to be addressed. Safety, security, everything that they want to do. So I put the ball in their court, and they came back first and foremost to the Parks and Rec Department. And I think they blew away the Parks and Rec Department as far as what they wanted to do and what they showed. Everyone had a question or a problem or something that they thought needed to be addressed, and they addressed lighting, they addressed how people were going to cross the street safely, they addressed all the concerns that the Parks and Rec Committee had, and I would have liked to have come tonight to do the same presentation to council. Because I think it is a good event that would be a good partnership with Southbrook Church and Wesley Chapel. And it's just one of those feathers in our cap that we could use the park for, that all the residents, I think, would enjoy. The main concept was everyone would gather at Southbrook Church. They'd be broken up into groups of, let's say, 10 to 20 people, brought over as a group across the road. And then, as they're being led by a moderator, they would stop at 11 different stations in the park and be told the historic story of Christmas. And I'm not the one to tell you what would be at each station, but when Casey came to the event, he said at station 1 we're going to do this, station 2, station 3, and it would be ending in a nativity scene, a live nativity scene. They're going to incorporate, they wanted to incorporate live animals like camels and sheep and things like that. They also were planning on giving away, pretend gold coins so that as you came across, you would leave a coin here. You pay for your hot chocolate with a coin and things like that. And I thought it was, at the end of the meeting with Parks and Rec, I said, you did a good job as far as squelching the issues about safety, squelching the issues about power and lighting and everything that I think would probably be potentially an issue with council. And then they were told not to come tonight, and the event wasn't going to happen. And I would have liked to have at least heard, I would have liked council to have heard the presentation that was given to Parks and Rec.
It sounds like from what you're saying, this is an educational event. I mean, they're having stations that
It's a
somebody
religious event.
would learn.
It's a religious event.
But I'm saying it sounds like it's educational also, because there are 11 stations that are leading up to, and they'll have. Is that what you're saying?
It tells the story of
Christmas.
You okay? I had a sheet in front of me, I don't have it anymore, that talked about all the different things that it would be educating the groups on.
Okay.
Well, I think last year, when this was brought to us, council very clearly said no night events. We didn't say bring a lighting plan. We didn't say bring us your most robust proposal. And I talked to Kelly at length about this. We said no night events and that we were not comfortable with people crossing 84. Brandon wants to know who's John talked to, because Brandon and his supervisor have extreme concerns about crossing 84 at night. So this council last year said no night events, and that has not changed. So there was no need. So when I was talking to Kelly, I said, you can come and present, but I have talked to council and it's going to be a waste of your time. Council said last year, no night events. We do not want to be liable for somebody crossing 84 at night. You can have the biggest spotlights you've ever had. I am not going to be responsible for somebody getting hit by a car crossing 84. And Kelly was totally okay with it, told her it wasn't personal. And I feel like the majority of council also agrees with this. No night events. It is not worth somebody getting hurt crossing 84. No matter what kind of plan you bring me.
But you had the conversation before you spoke with me.
Did you speak with me about this event at all? Because Kelly told me that you went to her and said, bring us your most robust proposal.
I told
They
her,
weren't even
"You
going
said it."
to ask us to do it at the park.
Yeah, they absolutely were. They brought to me, I told them they had to go to the Parks and Rec first and then bring it to council. I gave them the dates for the event. And I was talking with Deb this afternoon. She didn't know anything about it.
Yep, so when I saw it on the proposal for the agenda, which Kathy and I craft, I called Kelly to find out more information. And I know that there are 3 people up here to vote no, because last year, council clearly said no night events. We didn't say we're gonna change our mind in a year when you bring a spotlight.
David, when I spoke to you Monday last week, did you say something to the effect that you would have liked to have at least heard the proposal?
I said I wouldn't have had any problems with them presenting it, but
That's-
I would be, I mean, unless there was just overwhelmingly a lot of information about the security, about the lighting, you know, I still feel like we shouldn't have any events in the park at dark, after dark.
Fair enough.
And I told Kelly she could come present, and she said, no, I don't want to waste any more time. She did not wait until November 13th to continue planning this event.
Fine.
No night events. It is too dangerous to cross people on 84, and everybody else can weigh in.
Doesn't seem to, it's gonna make a difference one way or the other.
What if they weren't crossing 84? Is there any way to have where they would just park at the park?
There's still not light in the park.
Yeah, I still have an issue with that. Mike, I shared with you that day, you know, we run 10 jobs at a time on huge construction projects. And we don't work after dark, even though we may have that entire project lit up, there's always a fall hazard. And I feel the same way about the park. I mean, there's no way that we're gonna be able to light it up in a method that's gonna prevent fall hazards or, you know, somebody,
Why do they
a
have to
young
have
teenage
this
couple
at night,
disappeared.
Mike? Why not have it in the afternoon? Because that would be, if the only problem is that it's at night,
Doesn't matter.
what do you mean it doesn't matter?
It's a non-event. It's a moot point.
The problem I'm hearing is it's dangerous to cross 84 at night, having a night event. If this is an afternoon event, then it wouldn't be moot. Right? So why are they having it at night?
The idea of it was to have a star on the flagpole raising for the lighting, dramatic effects. But they don't have to put the North Star, you know, the Star Bethlehem up. So I think that's what was one of the ideas they had, so therefore, night event. But
I don't think camels would like it at night either.
Lori, what do you think about night events at the park?
I don't think we should do night events at the park because I don't think we're set up for it. I don't think we have the structure for it. I think 84 is dangerous enough during the daytime, much less at night. And I also question if we keep an American flag raised on a flagpole all the time, how we're going to raise the Star of Bethlehem on the same pole, but that's a whole different question. But from what I understood from you is that they didn't intend to, they never intended to do it in the park until someone approached them.
No,
And
it's
then-
not.
Communicated to me.
And so that's, I mean, that right there is kind of like, well, you know, what,
I did
why
not
would they
approach
sit down on
them.
this?
They approached me. I can show you the email from when she sent it to me back in, what, September?
I'm just
October?
going by what she said in her conversation.
Well, I still say it sounds like a really interesting event, and if they would consider having it in the daytime, that might be something that we could do. I mean, it sounds really like a lot of fun, from what you're saying. 11 stations, people going around. I mean, they've got it really well organized. Well, why does it doesn't have to be at night? It's going to be cold at night. So, I mean, if they would consider, I wonder if they would consider having it in the afternoon.
Well, this isn't our event.
Right.
This is their event, and also sounds like that they've moved on, so, you know, closed topic now.
Okay.
All right, so that brings us to the WUMA update. Last month we met at Stiles. Again, Union County sewer capacity remains a hot topic. It was very interesting that Mineral Springs had that business that was bought beside that dilapidated building, and that man has been able to get water and sewer. So hopefully Mineral Springs will see some development in their commercial or their center. Joe Polino again brought up the possibility of, ETJ seems to be a bit of a moot point in our county. But having our state representatives introduce a bill it has been introduced in the past, but has not gotten very far, where if your deed changes hands, so David sells his house, David lives in a donut hole, he sells his house, then he would, his deed would automatically be incorporated into Wesley Chapel. So the extra taxes would not impact David himself, it would impact whoever bought the house, and then they would be, and that would be a way to not harm the current landowners, but to close up some of those donut holes. So Joe was going to reach out about trying to talk with our state representatives about the wording for that and getting that reintroduced.
One thing about that is I think, for example, my next door neighbor is in one of those donut holes. He wants to vote in Wesley Chapel. He cares about what happens in Wesley Chapel. He was not aware until he went to the voting place that he was not allowed to vote in Wesley Chapel elections. He doesn't have any problems paying the extra taxes. I said, well, then you have to apply, you have to do this, you have to do that. I don't think you're going to find that a lot of the people that are in these donut holes necessarily want to be in them.
Well, for several years we waived those annexation fees. I mean, I think council, didn't we decide when we annexed in Adelaide Estates that if it was a whole neighborhood, it needed to be like a portion, like a 5% of the neighborhood? So, I mean, I would be okay waiving annexation fees to close donut holes to like houses in your neighborhood again.
Yeah, there's a number of them,
How long's your neighbor lived there?
4 or 5 years.
So he's had multiple elections that he didn't realize he was in Wesley Chapel.
It was only, I think, 2 elections that, 2 elections ago that he realized that he was in the donut hole, and then he was reminded again last week that he couldn't vote.
Who are our last 2 people? Frank, were you one of the people who annexed in a couple years ago?
Years ago.
Yeah.
That was down in Peppers.
Bill Rowley.
Yeah.
Bill Rowley. Yeah. So, I mean, that certainly, it has to be done by the spring, but I think that's certainly something we could consider to encourage. Maybe we could publicize it. Want to say in what year?
We
what
can't
year?
solicit
Could we say
annexation.
we waive the fees?
But it's something HOAs could discuss based on their residents that were unable to vote.
We discussed that exact point the other night.
So Frank could be a reference on how to do this in a neighborhood.
Well, for like the neighborhood behind us here,
Wesley Oaks has a lot of donut holes.
there's about 50% that are in the Wesley Chapel, 50% that are not. But I would take advantage of John being here. John, how many people showed up as an election official? How many people showed up and were told they could not vote?
About 20% of the people that showed up to vote on election day were not able to vote. They were told, and they got very testy. I mean, it wasn't Wesley Chapel. I was working in Mineral Springs. I was the chief judge there. They were getting very testy with the poll workers. I told them, send them all to me. And they just could not understand. I live in Waxhaw, and I can't vote for the Waxhaw mayor. I'm like, well, you don't really live in Waxhaw. Here's my address, here's my ID.
Oh, yes, we all heard that Tuesday. So the 20%, was that for just the Mineral Springs voting place, or was that the whole county?
No, just for the Mineral Spring, because I was keeping count. I asked my election workers to tell me every time somebody came up and was denied a vote. And I started a tally, and I counted everybody who was turned away because they were not in the municipality. I also tallied everybody who was turned away who came to the wrong precinct. We had a lot of Western Chapel people still coming to Mineral Springs. So I tallied it all. It's about 20%. The people who showed up to vote were not allowed to vote in the municipal election because they were not incorporated. So that was Mineral Springs.
Well, I saw a few of them at Siler in particular when I was there, and a lot of discussion, to your point. Well, I live in Waxhaw, and I'm thinking, well, you're standing in Weddington or where Western Chapel, where we are West Siler. And right now, and I'm like, I'm 28104, and I'm like, yeah. And just such a misunderstanding, and I think with the change in the polling places this election, it really threw a lot of people, because a lot of people, I heard, like, well, I used to go to, and then not anymore.
One of the craziest things that was occurring, I brought it to the Board of Elections' attention. When you put in the person, you get an error code, not in precinct. And then you send them to the right precinct. When they get there, in the right precinct, and they put them in the computer, it says, not incorporated, no ballot.
Right.
So I'm saying, well, the system should say,
Not incorporated.
not in jurisdiction and not incorporated, so we don't have to send the people all over the place for a week. We were sending them to closed polling stations.
Oh, geez.
So WIM also discussed inviting Brian Matthews back to talk about county issues, including an update on the water and sewer, and inviting the new commissioner to come and visit. And then there was continued discussion about bills at the state level that get introduced, and there's a little tag in the, there's a portion in there that just attempts to keep eroding away municipal authority, and how concerning that is to everyone. So, always a good meeting. It will be interesting with some of the changes, especially some from Waxhaw, if they continue to participate in the meetings or not. So that brings us to the council mayor comments. Sure.
All artwork from the student art contest has been returned to Danielle Carnes, the art teacher, except for the ones that we have in the display cases, and I'd like to thank Ms. McBride for your help in that.
Thank you.
Yes. And as you can see, all the winners have been placed and dry mounted and placed in the glass shelving. Chris and I also visited about 24 businesses a week or two ago in the Target, Harris Teeter, and Food Lion shopping centers, and took a handful of our beautiful pens and put them in a coffee mug, sat them on their counters and said, give these out to your customers. And they were thrilled. They really were thrilled to get those. So, and I have an appointment tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. with our framer to talk about the volunteer fire department, those gorgeous pictures that we want to frame, and there is money in the communications budget for that. So, that's it.
Next.
Pictures as in multiple? Or we get
There's two
of them?
of the
Okay,
fire
good.
department. There's one that's a panoramic view, which is kind of...
Next.
Earl, looking at you.
Who wants to go next? Council comments.
No comments from me other than thankful for the support during the election, and thankful for the dialogue back and forth with the challengers, and but I hope I don't mess up over the next 4 years.
You forgot. I'm happy. All right, that was you, Mike.
All I use my time for is to remind everybody that next month, because of Christmas, the council meeting is on the 4th, or excuse me, the council meeting,
That's not right.
well, it says council meetings, I'm looking at the calendar.
The orientation meeting.
That's the
Oh,
swearing
I'm
in.
sorry. It's normally the third Monday, but next month it's the
Normally the second Monday.
second.
There will be 2 meetings in the month.
Two
I
meetings.
remember when we said that.
All I'm saying is everybody, if you're coming next month's meeting, check your calendars, because things are changing.
Swearing in is the 4th.
Swearing in is the first Monday, the second Monday is the regular council meeting. Yes, Lauren?
And I remembered what I was going to say, so thank you for Mike for talking about your calendar, because I saw your calendar in there. I was just looking at it, when we start thinking about the calendar for 2024, I noticed that the council meeting is like the Monday right after the July 4th long weekend. And was just thinking maybe council could consider pushing that meeting 1 week.
Yeah, that's probably a good
But
idea.
just observation on the calendar.
Here's the calendar.
That's what they do it. Since I never looked at it. So,
Because that will be approved at that second meeting. Anybody, is that everyone?
You?
So, there are two things that we need to talk about putting on our calendar. One is the staff and council Christmas dinner. And then one is the, last year instead of a advance, as Brad likes to call them, we did a, appreciation event for our board and committee members, which I really enjoyed. It was so nice to get everybody together in one spot, and get to know each other a little bit better, and not talk shop. So I would like to encourage council to do that again. If we still are interested in some kind of advance, we can still look at that too, but I thought the value of that appreciation event was well worth every penny. And it wasn't even that expensive. We would have to find a different spot because Savitas has closed, but I would like us to, maybe in December, maybe try to pick a date for that. Council is approving that.
It's that new banquet place in Waxhaw.
Gotta do it in Wesley Chapel.
Yeah, sure.
There's that new,
There's a bar in Harris Teeter.
there's the new bar where the ice cream place was that serves appetizers and stuff. But we can talk about that, but I also am gonna send an email out for the staff and, council Christmas dinner. And then I need a motion to go into closed session for NCGS 143-31811 for attorney-client privilege for attorney's advice.
So motion.
Second.
Lawrence.
Oh, yeah, all in favor?
Okay,
Unanimous.
thank you.
Good.